I should have known something was wrong the moment Dr. Morrison's hands started trembling. But I didn't. I sat there in that sterile examination room, completely oblivious to the fact that my entire life was about to shatter into 1,000 pieces. My name is Emma. I'm 32 years old, a marketing consultant with a decent career and what I thought was a perfect marriage. 3 years ago, I married Marcus, the kind of man who brings you coffee in bed and remembers your mother's birthday. The kind of man you trust with your life. That trust almost killed me. Before I tell you what happened that day, the day that changed everything, if you love true survival stories, family drama, and psychological thrillers, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what I'm about to share with you is something I never thought I'd survive to tell. And trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. It was a Thursday afternoon in late September. I remember because the leaves outside Dr. Morrison's office window were just starting to turn that burnt orange color I've always loved. I was sitting on that crinkly paper that covers examination tables, my phone in hand, mindlessly scrolling through work emails while I waited. I'd been having these dizzy spells for months, nothing dramatic, just moments where the room would tilt slightly. Or I'd lose a few seconds and find myself standing in a different part of my house with no memory of walking there. Marcus had been worried, insisting I see his friend, Dr. Morrison, for some blood work. Just to be safe, he'd said, kissing my forehead with that concerned look I'd come to find endearing. I expected Dr. Morrison to tell me I was low on iron, or perhaps stress from work was catching up with me. I expected a prescription for vitamins and a lecture about work-life balance. I did not expect what happened next. The door opened and Dr. Morrison walked in. But something was immediately off. His usually warm smile was strained, forced. His eyes, normally calm and professional, kept darting to the door, then to me, then back to the door. He clutched my file against his chest like a shield. "Emma," he said, his voice slightly too loud, too cheerful. "Good to see you. Let's just do a quick examination, shall we?" I nodded, confused by his nervous energy. "Is everything okay with my results?" Yes, everything's fine, just routine checks." But his hands shook as he reached for his stethoscope. He moved through the examination mechanically, checking my pulse, my breathing, shining that little light in my eyes. When he asked me to hold out my arms to check my reflexes, I extended them, expecting the usual gentle taps with his reflex hammer. Instead, he pressed something into my palm. It was small, folded tightly. Paper. His eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. There was fear there, raw, desperate fear. He closed my fingers around it, then quickly moved his hands away, continuing the examination as if nothing had happened. My heart hammered in my chest. What was this? Some kind of joke? I started to unfold the paper, but his hand shot out, stopping me. He shook his head almost imperceptibly, his eyes screaming a warning I didn't understand. "Dr. Morrison, what?" The door opened. A nurse I'd never seen before stepped inside, her smile professional but her eyes sharp, watchful. Dr. Morrison's entire demeanor shifted in an instant. The fear vanished, replaced by an almost theatrical cheerfulness. "Well, Emma," he announced loudly, his voice booming, "I'm happy to report that your blood work came back perfectly normal. Nothing to worry about at all. You're the picture of health." I stared at him, the paper burning against my palm. But I thought, sometimes our bodies just need rest. He practically pulled me off the examination table. "Make sure you're drinking plenty of water, getting enough sleep. That should take care of those dizzy spells. If they persist, give us a call in a few weeks." He was ushering me toward the door, his grip on my elbow firm, but not quite rough. The nurse watched us with an unreadable expression. "Doctor, I don't understand." I tried again. "Have a wonderful day, Emma. Take care of yourself." And then I was in the hallway, the door closing firmly behind me with a decisive click that sounded like finality. I stood there, disoriented, clutching my purse and that mysterious piece of paper. Other patients walked past me, but I couldn't move. My hands were shaking as I finally, carefully, unfolded the note. The handwriting was rushed, desperate, barely legible. "Don't go home. Run. Your husband is not who you think. Check the basement." The words blurred as I read them again and again. This had to be a mistake. Some kind of misunderstanding. Dr. Morrison must be having some kind of breakdown. Maybe he was confusing me with another patient. Marcus was. Marcus was perfect. Marcus loved me, didn't he? I stood in that hallway for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. Then my feet carried me toward the exit on autopilot, my mind spinning with questions I was afraid to answer. I made it to my car in the parking lot, my legs feeling like they might give out at any moment. I collapsed into the driver's seat, holding that note with trembling fingers. This was insane. Absolutely insane. I needed to call Marcus, laugh about this, maybe suggest we find Dr. Morrison a good therapist. But something made me look up at the building one more time. Dr. Morrison's office was on the 3rd floor, corner window. I could see him through the glass, pacing back and forth, phone pressed to his ear. Even from this distance, I could see the panic in his body language, the way he gestured frantically, the way he kept running his hand through his hair. Then I noticed it. Across the street, parked under the shade of an old oak tree, a black SUV with tinted windows. Dark, sleek, anonymous. My breath caught in my throat because I recognized it. That SUV had been parked on my street for the past week. I'd noticed it Tuesday morning when I left for work. Wednesday evening when I came home, Marcus had said it probably belonged to someone visiting the neighbors. Nothing to worry about, sweetheart. But it wasn't on my street now. It was here, outside Dr. Morrison's office, watching. I looked back up at Dr. Morrison's window. The office was dark. In the space of 5 seconds, maybe less, the lights had gone out and Dr. Morrison had vanished. My phone buzzed in my cup holder. A text from Marcus. "Hey babe, how did the appointment go? Heading home for dinner soon? I'm making your favorite, can't wait to see you, love you." I stared at those words that should have made me feel loved, safe, comforted. Instead, they made my skin crawl. The note crinkled in my other hand. "Don't go home. Run." The black SUV's engine started. Through the tinted windshield, I could barely make out a figure turning toward my car. I had 2 choices. Drive home to my husband like nothing was wrong, or trust a doctor who might be insane. A doctor who had just disappeared from his office like he'd never been there at all. The SUV began to pull out of its parking space. I needed to decide. Right now. What I didn't know, what I couldn't possibly know, was that this decision, this single moment, would determine whether I lived or died, whether I'd ever discover who I really was, or what had been done to me while I slept. I drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't go home. Not yet. Not until I understood what was happening. The black SUV had pulled out behind me for about 3 blocks before turning off, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I ended up at a Starbucks on the other side of town. The kind that's always packed with college students and remote workers, where you can disappear into a crowd. I needed people around me. Witnesses. Safety in numbers, even if I didn't know what I was afraid of. My hands were still shaking when I ordered a pumpkin spice latte, something I normally hate, but the first thing I saw on the menu. The barista gave me a concerned look as I fumbled with my credit card, dropping it twice before finally getting it into the reader. I found a corner table with my back to the wall where I could see the entrance. The note sat on the table in front of me, those words burning into my vision. "Your husband is not who you think." Marcus, my Marcus. The man who proposed to me on a beach at sunset, who learned to cook Thai food because it's my favorite, who held me when I cried about losing my grandmother last year. That Marcus couldn't be. What? What was Dr. Morrison trying to tell me? My phone rang. Marcus's name lit up the screen with the photo I'd set as his contact, him laughing at our wedding, looking at me like I was his entire world. My thumb hovered over the decline button. But wouldn't that be suspicious? If I ignored him after a doctor's appointment? I answered. "Hey, sweetheart." His voice was warm, familiar, everything that should have made me feel safe. "How'd it go? Everything okay?" I closed my eyes, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yeah, all good. Everything came back normal." "That's great. I told you it was probably just stress. So you're heading home?" There was something in his tone. Or was I imagining it? Was I being paranoid? "Actually, I ran into Sarah at the doctor's office. You remember Sarah from college? We're gonna grab dinner, catch up. I haven't seen her in forever." The lie came so easily it scared me. A pause, just a fraction of a second too long. "Oh, okay, that's great, babe. Have fun. Text me when you're heading back." "Of course. Love you." Love you too. I ended the call and immediately felt like I might throw up. I didn't have a friend named Sarah. Marcus knew I didn't have a friend named Sarah. So why had he just gone along with it? I opened my laptop, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Where do you even start when your reality is falling apart? I typed Dr. Morrison plus our town name. His practice website came up first. Professional headshot, credentials, patient reviews, everything looked legitimate. Dr. James Morrison, internal medicine, 15 years of experience. The same man who'd been in that examination room. Except, no, something was wrong with the photo. I pulled up the selfie I'd taken on my phone when I first sat down in the examination room. I always snap a photo of the doctor's credentials on the wall, a habit from a medical billing mix-up years ago. I zoomed in on both images, comparing them side by side. The man in the website photo had a small scar above his left eyebrow. The man I'd seen today didn't. My coffee went cold as I scrolled further down the search results. Third link down, a news article from the local newspaper, 2 days old. The headline made the room spin. Local doctor reported missing, police investigating disappearance. My vision tunneled as I read. Dr. James Morrison, 48, was reported missing Thursday evening after failing to return home from his shift at Riverside Medical Center. His car was found in the parking lot, his wallet and keys inside. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward. Dr. Morrison was last seen leaving the medical center at approximately 7:30 p.m. Thursday evening, 2 days ago. If Dr. Morrison had been missing for 2 days, then who the hell had I just seen? Who had given me that note? Who had touched me, examined me, looked at me with those terrified eyes? I called the medical office, straight to voicemail. Riverside Medical Center is currently closed. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. But I'd just been there. Less than an hour ago. I checked the time, 6:47 p.m. Okay, so maybe they just closed. That was normal, right? I pulled up the address for Dr. Morrison's home, the real Dr. Morrison. The article had mentioned he lived on Maple Street, 20 minutes away. I shouldn't have gone there. I know that now. But I had to see. Had to know if this was real or if I was losing my mind. The sun was setting as I drove through his neighborhood. Nice houses, well-maintained lawns, the kind of street where neighbors probably knew each other's names and watched each other's kids. I found his house easily. The yellow police tape gave it away. I parked across the street, far enough to not look suspicious, close enough to see. The house was dark. Crime scene tape stretched across the front door. A notice from the police department was taped to the window. My hands gripped the steering wheel. This was real. Morrison was really missing, and someone who looked exactly like him, had impersonated him to give me that warning. Why? Why go through such an elaborate setup just to warn me about my husband? Unless Marcus was involved in Dr. Morrison's disappearance. The thought made my blood run cold. I needed more information. I needed proof that I wasn't crazy. I opened my phone's location history, something Marcus had insisted we both turn on for safety when we got married. I'd never really thought about it before, never had a reason to check where I'd been. But now? I scrolled through the data, watching my movements trace across the map. Work, grocery store, gym, home. All normal. Except for the gaps. There were timestamps where my phone showed I was at home, in the middle of the day when I had no memory of being there. Tuesday afternoon, 2:15 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., my location showed my house, but I remembered being at work that entire day. I'd been in back-to-back meetings. Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. Same thing. My phone said I was home. My memory said I was at the office. How was that possible? I checked my calendar, pulling up the past few weeks. There were appointments I didn't remember making, gaps in my schedule that I'd apparently blocked off but had no recollection of. Personal time, marked on days when I could have sworn I'd worked straight through. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I opened my photo gallery, scrolling back through the past month. Normal photos at first, a latte I'd had last week, a sunset, a funny sign I'd seen on my commute. Then I saw them. Photos I didn't remember taking. The first was a picture of a door, our basement door, but taken from an angle that was wrong, like I'd been trying to hide the fact that I was photographing it. The timestamp, 3:17 a.m. last Tuesday. The second photo made my stomach drop. A close-up of a padlock, heavy-duty, industrial, the kind you'd use to keep someone out, or keep someone in. I didn't recognize it. We didn't have a lock like that in our house. Did we? I kept scrolling, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The third photo? The third photo was of me. I was lying down, eyes closed, completely unconscious. The photo had been taken from above, looking down at my sleeping or drugged face. My mouth was slightly open. There was a strange peacefulness to the expression that made it all the more horrifying. Someone had stood over me while I was unconscious and taken this photo. I checked the metadata, my hands shaking so violently I almost dropped the phone. Date, last Tuesday, 3:23 a.m. Location, my home. Marcus and I had been alone that night. He'd made dinner, we'd watched a movie, I'd felt dizzy and gone to bed early. Just another normal evening. Except it wasn't. Someone had drugged me. Someone had stood over my unconscious body and photographed me like I was. Like I was a specimen, a possession. Something to be documented. And the only person who'd been there was my husband. The coffee shop suddenly felt too bright, too loud. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All those dizzy spells, the memory gaps. The times I'd fallen asleep unexpectedly, waking up hours later with no memory of what happened. Marcus had been drugging me, but why? For how long? And what had he been doing to me while I was unconscious? The basement. Dr. Morrison's note had said to check the basement. We had a finished basement. Marcus used it as a home office. I rarely went down there. He said he needed a quiet space to work, and I'd respected that. Respected his privacy. What had he been hiding down there? My phone buzzed. Another text from Marcus. Hey babe, it's getting late. Sarah must be chatty. When do you think you'll be home? Missing you. The emoji. The casual tone. Like everything was normal. Like he hadn't been drugging me, photographing me unconscious, keeping some dark secret in our basement. I stared at that message, and something inside me shifted. The fear was still there, but underneath it, something else was growing. Anger. Determination. I wasn't going to run anymore. I was going home. I was going to look in that basement, and I was going to find out exactly what my husband, if that's even what he really was, had been hiding from me. I sat in that Starbucks parking lot for 20 minutes, staring at my phone, at those horrifying photos of myself unconscious. Every instinct screamed at me to drive to the police station to tell them everything. But what would I tell them? That my husband might be drugging me based on some photos I didn't remember taking? That a missing doctor, or someone impersonating him, gave me a cryptic warning? They'd think I was having a mental breakdown. Maybe I was. No. I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof of what Marcus was doing. I needed to see what was in that basement. But I wasn't stupid. I wasn't going in there without a safety net. I pulled up my contacts and called the only person I could think of, my actual friend from college, Rebecca. Not Sarah, that had been a lie for Marcus. But Rebecca was real, and she lived 3 states away, which meant Marcus couldn't get to her. Emma? Hey, this is a surprise. Rebecca, listen to me. I need you to do something, and I need you not to ask questions right now. My voice was shaking. I'm going to text you every 30 minutes. If you don't hear from me, if even one text is late, I need you to call 911 and send them to my address. Can you do that? Silence. Then Emma, what's going on? Are you in danger? I don't know yet. That's what I'm trying to find out. Please, Becca. Just please do this for me. Okay, yes. Every 30 minutes. I'm setting alarms right now. Emma, be careful. I will. I hope. The drive home felt like driving toward my own execution. Every street light seemed too bright, every shadow too dark. The black SUV wasn't following me. I'd checked obsessively, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Our house looked exactly as it always did. Warm light glowing through the windows. Marcus's car in the driveway. The porch light on, welcoming. It looked like home. It looked like a trap. I texted Rebecca, going in now. First check-in. Then I got out of the car, took a deep breath, and walked toward my front door. Toward my husband. Toward whatever nightmare was waiting inside. Marcus met me at the door before I could even get my key out. His smile was wide, genuine, everything I'd fallen in love with 3 years ago. There she is. How was dinner with Sarah? I forced myself to smile back, to step into his embrace when he pulled me close. His arms around me felt like a cage. It was good, really good to catch up. The lie tasted like poison. I'm glad. I made you a plate, your favorite. Thai chicken with those noodles you love. He led me into the kitchen, his hand on the small of my back, gentle, possessive. The kitchen looked normal, perfect even. Candles on the table, my favorite wine poured. The food still warm. How many times had he drugged this food? How many meals had I eaten while he smiled at me across the table, knowing what he was putting in my body? You're so sweet, I managed, sitting down at the table. I'm not super hungry though, we ate a lot. Something flickered across his face. Disappointment? Annoyance? It was gone so fast I might have imagined it. Oh, well, maybe just have a little? I worked hard on it. He pushed the plate closer to me. I took a small bite, moving the food around my plate more than eating it. And I watched, really watched, looking for all the things I'd been too trusting, too naive to see before. The child safety locks on the interior doors, when did those appear? We didn't have kids. Why would we need them? My vitamins on the counter, in a bottle I didn't recognize. Same brand, same label, but something about it was off. The pills looked slightly different in color. The way Marcus kept positioning himself between me and the basement door. Every time I shifted in my seat, every time I glanced in that direction, he'd move, blocking my view, drawing my attention back to him. You seem distracted, he said, his voice soft, concerned. Everything okay? Yeah, just tired. Long day. I yawned, hoping it looked natural. You should take your vitamin. Help you sleep better. He was already holding out the bottle, shaking one into his palm. This was it, the moment of truth. I took the pill from his hand, letting our fingers touch, smiling at him like nothing was wrong, like I didn't know, like I was still his obedient, drugged wife. Thanks, babe. I brought it to my mouth, took a sip of water, and pretended to swallow. The pill was under my tongue, bitter and chalky, dissolving slowly. I wanted to gag but forced myself to smile, to drink more water, to act like everything was normal. Marcus watched me. His eyes tracked every movement. Had he always watched me like this? Like a scientist observing an experiment? Why don't you relax on the couch, he suggested. I'll clean up. You look exhausted. I nodded, standing up slowly, deliberately making my movements a little sluggish. Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. I curled up on the couch, the pill still tucked under my tongue, feeling it dissolve into a paste I desperately wanted to spit out. I kept my eyes half closed, my breathing steady, pretending that whatever drug he'd given me was taking effect. Through my eyelashes I watched Marcus move around the kitchen, washing dishes, putting away food, normal husband activities. Then he pulled out his phone. He glanced at me first, checking if I was asleep. I kept my body loose. My face relaxed, my breathing deep and even. Satisfied, he walked toward the garage door, phone pressed to his ear. I could barely hear him, but I caught fragments. She took it. Give me 20 minutes, then come get her. Yes, I'm sure. The others are ready. My blood turned to ice. The others. He wasn't working alone. And there were other women, other victims. How many? How long had this been going on? I heard the garage door open and close. Marcus was outside. I had minutes, maybe less. I spit the dissolved pill into my hand, grabbed a napkin from the coffee table, and wiped out my mouth frantically. Then I was up, moving as quietly as possible toward the basement door. It was locked, not with a regular lock, but with a heavy-duty padlock, the same one from the photo on my phone. I ran to the kitchen, pulled open drawers as silently as I could. Where would he keep there? Bolt cutters in the utility drawer, hidden under dish towels. My hands shook so badly I could barely grip them. The metal cutters felt heavy, awkward. I positioned them on the lock's shackle and squeezed with everything I had. The sound of metal snapping echoed through the quiet house like a gunshot. I froze, listening for Marcus. Nothing. He was still outside. The lock fell to the floor with a dull thud. I opened the basement door. The stairs descended into darkness. I fumbled for the light switch, nearly crying with relief when I found it. Fluorescent lights flickered on, revealing, oh God, it wasn't a home office. The basement had been converted into something that looked like a medical facility. IV stands, monitors, a hospital bed with restraints attached to the railings, leather straps with buckles worn from use, trays of syringes organized by size, vials of medication I didn't recognize, a mini refrigerator humming in the corner. But the worst part, the thing that made my knees buckle, was the wall. An entire wall covered in photographs. My face stared back at me from dozens of pictures. Me sleeping, me unconscious on that hospital bed, IV in my arm. Me with my eyes open but empty, like I was there but not there. And next to my photos, other women. 4 of them. All roughly my age, my build, my coloring. Brown hair, Asian features. We could have been sisters. Each woman had their own section on the wall. Photographs documenting what? Their captivity? Their transformation? Under each woman's photos was a label. Subject 1, complete. Subject 2, complete. Subject 3, complete. Subject 4, complete. And mine, Subject 5, reset complete, ready for transfer. I stumbled to a desk in the corner, my vision blurring with tears. There were files, medical files. I grabbed the one with my name Emma and opened it. Pages and pages of notes, medications administered, memory suppression protocols, behavioral conditioning results. Dates going back 3 years. 3 years, our entire marriage. I flipped through another file, a treatment log. Day 1, initial sedation successful. Subject responsive to Protocol A. Day 45, memory gaps increasing as expected. Subject shows no awareness of time loss. Day 180, personality integration complete. Subject fully believes in constructed identity. Constructed identity. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and Googled Emma missing person. Nothing. I tried Emma Rodriguez missing person. Nothing. Who was I? What was my real name? On the desk, a laptop sat open, screen dark. I touched the mouse pad and it lit up. Marcus hadn't logged out. The browser was open to a website I didn't recognize. Dark background, encrypted URL. It took me a moment to understand what I was looking at. An auction site, but not for objects, for people. There were listings, women, photos that looked like modeling headshots but with detailed descriptions underneath. Age 28, professional background, fully conditioned, memory wiped, ready for immediate transfer. I scrolled down, my stomach churning. And then I saw it. My photo. Professional, smiling, but my eyes looked empty, drugged. Subject 5, age 32. Marketing background, completed conditioning program, memory integration successful, 3 reset cycles completed. Reserve price, $250,000. Auction closes in 48 hours. They were selling me. Marcus was selling me to the highest bidder. I was going to be sick. I turned away from the laptop, and that's when I saw it, a small notebook tucked between 2 files, almost hidden. I pulled it out and my hands went numb. It was my handwriting. The journal was filled with entries in my own hand, but I didn't remember writing any of it. March 15th. I tried to escape today, made it to the front door before the dizziness hit. Woke up back in the basement. He's increasing the dosage. April 2nd. I found the files. I know what he's doing. I'm not Emma. But I can't remember my real name. The drugs, they're taking everything. June 10th. 3rd escape attempt. I got to a neighbor's house this time. Told them I needed help, but Marcus came. He told them I have early onset dementia, that I wander. They believed him. Everyone always believes him. I flipped to the last entry, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the journal. September 20th. If you're reading this, you've been caught again. You've tried to escape before. Multiple times. This is at least your 3rd reset, maybe your 4th. You can't trust your memories. Nothing is real. This time, remember, Dr. Morrison is real. He helped you before. He tried to get you out. The scar behind your left ear is from the first memory wipe. They cut you to implant something. Don't trust Marcus. His real name is... The sentence ended in a smear of what looked like dried blood. With trembling fingers, I reached behind my left ear, feeling along my scalp. There, a small ridge. A scar I'd never noticed before, hidden by my hair. I'd been told it was from a childhood accident. Marcus had told me that. Marcus had lied about everything. Behind me, the basement door creaked. I spun around. Marcus stood at the top of the stairs, silhouetted against the light from the house above. His expression wasn't angry. It wasn't even surprised. He looked disappointed. "Emma," he said softly, starting down the stairs. "You weren't supposed to wake up." Every muscle in my body screamed at me to run, but there was nowhere to go. He was between me and the only exit. "My name isn't Emma." My voice came out stronger than I expected. "Who am I? What's my real name?" He smiled. Actually smiled. "Does it matter? Emma is who you are now. We've worked very hard to make her real." "We?" I backed up against the desk. "Who else is involved in this?" "Does it matter?" he repeated, taking another step closer. You won't remember this conversation anyway. Another reset, a higher dosage this time, and in a few weeks you'll wake up thinking this was all a bad dream. We've done it before. We can do it again. The auction, I whispered. You're selling me. Relocating you, he corrected, as if there was a difference. To someone who can appreciate all the work we've put into you. You're quite valuable, you know. 3 years of conditioning, perfect integration, no family looking for you. Because you took that from me, I screamed. You took my memories, my identity, my life. We gave you a better life, he said calmly. We gave you purpose. He was close now. Too close. I could smell his cologne, the same one I used to find comforting. My hand touched something cold behind me on the desk. One of the syringes. Marcus saw my eyes flick down. His expression changed, hardened. Don't do anything stupid, Emma. You know how this ends. You always try to fight, you always fail. It's almost boring at this point. Almost boring. How many times had I been here? How many times had I discovered the truth only to have it ripped away again? Not this time. This time, I had Rebecca waiting for my text. This time, I had proof. This time, my phone buzzed in my pocket. The 30-minute alarm. Marcus's eyes went to my pocket. Who did you tell? I didn't answer. I just grabbed the syringe. He lunged forward, and that's when everything went black. Who did you tell? Marcus repeated, his voice sharp now, threatening. I clutched the syringe tighter, holding it between us like a weapon. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. Rebecca, wondering why I hadn't responded to her check-in text. Marcus's eyes flicked to my pocket, then back to my face. I saw the calculation happening behind them. He was trying to figure out how much time he had, how to contain this situation. It doesn't matter, he said finally, his voice shifting back to that calm, controlled tone. Whoever you told, whatever you think you've figured out, it won't matter. We've been doing this for a long time, Emma. We're very good at making problems disappear. My name isn't Emma, I said again, my voice shaking but fierce. Who am I? What's my real name? For a moment, just a moment, something that might have been respect crossed his face. You really want to know? He took another step closer. Fine, your name is Dr. Emma Rodriguez. You were a neuroscientist. Brilliant, actually. You were researching memory manipulation, neural reconditioning, how to help trauma victims by suppressing and replacing painful memories. The words hit me like physical blows. A neuroscientist. I was a scientist. That's why he targeted me. Your research, Marcus continued, was revolutionary and very, very valuable to certain people. People who understood that the ability to erase and rewrite memories could be used for more than just helping trauma victims. You used my own research on me, I whispered, the full horror of it settling over me like ice water. He smiled. We perfected it on you. Every reset, every memory wipe, every identity reconstruction, we used your own protocols. You built the cage we put you in, Emma. Or should I say Dr. Rodriguez? The real Dr. Morrison, I said, my mind racing, trying to piece together the fragments. You killed him. The news article said he was missing. Dr. James Morrison was your fiancé, Marcus interrupted, and my world tilted again. Before we took you. He'd been searching for you for 3 years. Somehow, we still don't know how, he tracked you down, got himself hired at the medical clinic, waited for the right moment. My fiancé. I'd had a fiancé. Someone who loved me. Someone who'd spent 3 years looking for me. He tried to rescue you during one of your appointments, Marcus said, his voice matter of fact, like he was discussing the weather. Managed to slip you a note, tried to get you out. We couldn't let that happen. So yes, we eliminated the problem. You murdered him. Tears were streaming down my face now. We protected our investment. He said it so casually. But his brother, Michael Morrison, he's been more difficult to deal with. Smarter, more careful. That was him today, wasn't it? Pretending to be James, giving you a warning? My mind flashed back to the examination room, to the man who'd pressed that note into my palm. The real Dr. Morrison's brother, risking his life to finish what his brother had started, to save me. The dizzy spells, Marcus continued, those were your body building up a resistance to the drugs. We've been having to increase the dosage, but your system, probably because of your background in neuroscience, has been fighting back. You were starting to remember things. That's why we accelerated the auction timeline. You were becoming too unstable, too aware. Time to pass you on to someone else. The others, I said, my voice barely a whisper. The women in the photographs. What happened to them? His expression didn't change. They served their purpose. They were relocated. That's all you need to know. Relocated. The word was a lie, wrapped in a euphemism. Those women were gone. Dead, sold, disappeared into whatever nightmare awaited them. Not me. Not this time. Marcus took another step forward, and I realized we'd been talking in circles, him getting closer with each word, trying to keep me distracted. Give me the syringe, Emma. This doesn't have to be difficult. We'll do another reset, a deeper one this time. You won't remember any of this. You'll wake up peaceful, happy, ready for your new life with your new owner. Isn't that better than living with all this pain? He reached for me. I swung the syringe at him, but he was faster than I expected, grabbing my wrist and twisting. The syringe fell from my hand, clattering across the floor. His grip was iron. He pulled me close, and I could smell the cologne that used to comfort me, now making me want to vomit. I didn't want to do this the hard way, he said softly, almost sadly. I actually grew fond of you, Emma. You were always my favorite subject. His favorite subject. Something inside me snapped. I wasn't a subject. I wasn't merchandise. I wasn't Emma or even Dr. Emma Rodriguez right now. I was a survivor, and I was done being a victim. I drove my knee up as hard as I could. Marcus doubled over with a grunt of pain, his grip loosening just enough for me to wrench free. I grabbed the IV stand next to me and swung it with every ounce of strength I had. The metal base connected with the side of Marcus's head with a sickening crack. He stumbled backward, blood streaming down his temple. But he was still conscious, still dangerous. You bitch, he snarled, all pretense of civility gone. Do you have any idea what you're worth? What we've invested in you? I grabbed another syringe from the tray, one of the sedatives, the same ones he'd been using on me for 3 years. When he lunged at me again, I was ready. I drove the needle into his shoulder and pushed the plunger down with everything I had. Marcus's eyes went wide. He grabbed at the syringe, pulled it out, stared at it in disbelief. No, he whispered, already starting to sway. No, you stupid. His legs gave out. He crashed to the floor, his eyes rolling back. I didn't wait to see if he'd get back up. I ran for the stairs, my legs feeling like they might collapse under me. My phone was buzzing nonstop now. Rebecca must be panicking. I burst through the basement door into the kitchen and froze. Headlights, multiple vehicles pulling into my driveway, his partners, the we he'd kept mentioning. They were here. I heard car doors slamming, footsteps on the front porch. I ran back to the basement, grabbed the laptop and my journal. Evidence. I needed evidence, and then I saw it. The small window near the ceiling of the basement. The kind you'd never think was big enough to escape through, but I'd apparently thought differently before. There was a chair positioned beneath it. The window was already unlocked. I'd planned this. During one of my previous escape attempts, I'd prepared this exact exit. Thank you past me. I climbed onto the chair, pushed the window open, and squeezed through. It was tight, the frame scraping against my ribs. But adrenaline made me small, made me liquid. I tumbled out onto the grass outside just as I heard the front door crash open. Search everywhere, someone shouted. She can't have gone far. I ran through the neighbor's yard, clutching the laptop and journal to my chest, my bare feet slipping on the wet grass. Where could I go? Who could I trust? A car's headlights flashed 3 times down the street. I turned, ready to run in the other direction. But then I heard a voice. Urgent, but not threatening. Dr. Rodriguez, over here. A man was leaning out of a sedan, waving frantically. Even in the darkness, even having only seen him once, I recognized him. The fake Dr. Morrison. Michael Morrison, the brother. I didn't have time to think, to question. Behind me, I heard shouting, flashlights cutting through the darkness of my backyard. I ran for the car. Michael threw the passenger door open, and I dove inside. He was already accelerating before I'd even closed the door. Seatbelt, he said tersely, his eyes flicking between the road and the rearview mirror. They're following us. I looked back. 2 sets of headlights had pulled out of my driveway and were closing the distance fast. Who are you? I gasped, fumbling with the seatbelt. How did you know? I'm Michael Morrison. James, Dr. Morrison, was my brother. His voice cracked slightly on the word was. He died trying to save you. I've been trying to finish what he started. He was my fiancé. The words felt foreign in my mouth. Marcus told me. Yes. Michael took a sharp turn, tires squealing. You and James were going to be married. Then you disappeared 3 years ago. He never stopped looking for you. When he found you, when he tried to get you out, He couldn't finish the sentence. Behind us, the headlights were getting closer. I've been investigating this trafficking ring for 6 months, Michael continued, his jaw set. Gathering evidence, building a case. I risked everything today to warn you because I knew they were planning to move you. The auction was closing. It was now or never. The note, I said, understanding. You pretended to be your brother. I'm sorry for the deception, but I couldn't risk tipping them off. I've been tracking their communications, their movements. I have recordings, documents, everything we need to take them down. But I needed you alive to testify. You're the key to all of this. You're the one who can identify the buyers, the other victims, the full scope of the operation. He pulled out his phone, never taking his eyes off the road, and tossed it to me. Call 911. Tell them you're Dr. Emma Rodriguez, you've been kidnapped, and you're being pursued. Give them this address. He rattled off the location of a police station. Tell them we're heading there now, and we need immediate backup. My hands shook as I dialed. 20 minutes later, 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours, we pulled into the police station parking lot, with 3 police cruisers surrounding us for protection. Marcus's associates had backed off when the police siren started, disappearing into the night like the cockroaches they were. But they'd be caught. Because I had evidence. Michael had evidence. And I was alive to tell my story. The next few hours were a blur of statements, detectives, FBI agents. Michael's evidence was extensive. He'd been building this case meticulously, documenting everything. Combined with what I'd taken from the basement, the authorities had enough to launch raids across 3 states. By morning, Marcus was in custody, along with 2 of his accomplices who'd been caught at the house. The basement yielded evidence of 12 victims over 5 years. 12 women whose lives had been stolen, erased, rewritten. But 4 of them, 4 were still alive. Based on the evidence we provided, police located them in various places, all in different stages of the conditioning process. We saved them. I saved them. Dr. Rodriguez, a detective, said gently, sitting across from me in an interview room, "We've been able to verify your identity. You were reported missing 3 years ago by your fiancé, Dr. James Morrison. You were a neuroscientist at Stanford, researching memory manipulation and trauma therapy." I nodded, trying to feel something about this information, trying to remember being her. Being me. Your research, the detective continued, it was groundbreaking. That's why they targeted you. They used your own work to condition you and the other victims. You literally designed the process they used to erase your own memory. The irony was devastating. "We'll help you through this," she said. "There are therapists who specialize in recovered memory, in identity reconstruction." Identity reconstruction. I laughed, but it came out bitter, broken. That's what Marcus called it. That's what he did to me. Michael Morrison, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner, spoke up. "My brother left notes about you, about who you were before. I have them if you want them. He wanted you to know how much he loved you, how hard he fought to find you." Tears streamed down my face. I was crying for a man I couldn't remember loving. Mourning a relationship that existed only in someone else's testimony. The detective stood up, preparing to leave me to rest. As she did, I noticed a framed photograph on her desk. My eyes landed on it, and my blood went cold. The photo showed the detective in a wedding dress, standing next to a man in a tuxedo. But I wasn't looking at the detective. I was looking at the woman in the background of the photo. A bridesmaid, smiling at the camera. She looked exactly like me. Same face, same hair, same features. But it wasn't me. "Detective," I said, my voice hollow. "That photo. Who is that woman? The bridesmaid?" The detective turned, looked at the photo, and her expression changed, became soft with pain. "That's my wife," she said quietly. "Sarah. She's been missing for 3 years. We'd just gotten married when she vanished. No leads, no trace, nothing." She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the moment recognition flickered in her eyes. You look so much like her. Do you know her?" My mouth went dry. Michael stood up, came closer to look at the photo. His face paled. "That's not possible," he whispered. "Dr. Rodriguez, are you seeing what I'm seeing?" I was. The woman in the photo, Sarah, looked like she could be my twin. Or maybe I looked like I could be hers. Marcus said my name was Emma Rodriguez. I said slowly, my mind racing through horrible possibilities. That I was a neuroscientist. But what if that was another lie? What if that's another constructed identity? The detective grabbed the photo, holding it next to my face. Her hands were shaking. Sarah was a neuroscientist, she said. She worked at Stanford. She was researching memory manipulation. The room spun. Dr. Emma Rodriguez and Sarah, Michael said, pulling up something on his phone. They worked together. They were research partners at Stanford. Emma was reported missing 3 years ago. Sarah disappeared 2 weeks later. 2 women, same research team, same physical appearance. Both disappeared. He didn't just give me a false identity, I whispered. He gave me someone else's real identity. Emma Rodriguez was real. But that's not who I am. I'm Sarah, and he made me into Emma. Or was I? How could I even know anymore? They brought me files, documents, photos of both women, Dr. Emma Rodriguez and Sarah. Research partners, friends. Both brilliant neuroscientists, both disappeared 3 years ago. Both victims of the same trafficking ring. Emma Rodriguez's body had been found 6 months after her disappearance. Dead. They'd identified her through dental records, which meant Marcus had taken Emma Rodriguez's identity and given it to me, to Sarah. Had made me live as the woman who was already dead. But even knowing this, even looking at photos of Sarah, her life, her accomplishments, her wife, I felt nothing. No recognition. No memories flooding back. That woman was a stranger to me. We can help you remember, the detective said through tears, holding my hand, or rather holding her wife's hand. Please, let us help you remember. Let me have my wife back. I looked at Michael Morrison, who'd given up months of his life to find me, to finish what his brother started. I looked at all the files spread across the table, 2 women's lives, 2 identities, and somewhere in there was supposed to be me. What if I don't want to remember? The words came out before I could stop them. Everyone in the room froze. What if? I continued, my voice shaking. What if who I was, whether that was Emma or Sarah or someone else entirely, what if that person died 3 years ago? What if the only person I know how to be is this amalgamation Marcus created? Emma Chen, the marketing consultant, the woman who likes Thai food and hates pumpkin spice lattes. That's the only person I know how to be. But she's not real, the detective whispered. Emma Chen never existed. She's a fabrication, a lie. I know. I looked at my reflection in the dark window across from us. But she's the only me I remember. And maybe that's all I have left. Michael sat down beside me. My brother died believing you could be saved, that you could be brought back. Are you telling me you don't even want to try? I'm telling you I'm terrified, I admitted. I'm terrified that if I become Sarah or Emma Rodriguez or whoever I was supposed to be, then this person, the one sitting here right now, she'll disappear. And even though she was built on lies and drugs and manipulation, she's still me. The only me I have. We'll take this slowly, a therapist said, appearing in the doorway. No one is going to force you to be someone you're not ready to be. Recovery from this kind of trauma, it's not linear. It's not simple. We'll work together to figure out who you are now, whether that includes memories from before or whether you build something entirely new. But I need to know, the detective said desperately. I need to know if you're my wife. Please, even if you don't remember me, I need to know. They did a DNA test. It took 3 days for the results to come back. I was Sarah. I was the detective's missing wife, the woman she'd married and lost 3 years ago. But I didn't remember her. I didn't remember our wedding, our life together, the love we'd shared. I was her wife in name only, in DNA only. The woman she'd loved was gone, replaced by someone else wearing her face. It's been 6 months since that night. 6 months since I escaped. Since I learned the truth. Marcus and his associates are in prison, awaiting trial. The trafficking ring has been dismantled. 12 victims have been identified. 4 living women are receiving treatment, trying to piece together their stolen lives. And me? I'm still figuring out who I am. I meet with the detective, Rachel Chen, my wife, once a week for coffee. We're trying to know each other again, or maybe for the first time. I don't know if I'll ever love her the way Sarah Chen did, but I'm trying to build something new. Something real. Michael Morrison has become a friend. He shares stories about his brother, about James and Sarah's relationship. I listen to these stories like they're about strangers, but I keep them anyway. They're pieces of a puzzle I may never complete, but they're mine nonetheless. I've started seeing a therapist who specializes in trauma and recovered memory. Some days I get flashes, a smell that triggers something, a song that feels familiar. I don't know if these are real memories surfacing or my brain trying to fill in the gaps with false ones. Maybe it doesn't matter. I'm alive. The other victims are alive. That has to count for something. But here's the thing I've learned, the thing I want you to understand. Identity isn't just memory. It's not just the past. It's also choices. It's also the person you decide to be right now, in this moment. Marcus tried to take everything from me, from all of us. He tried to erase who we were and remake us into what he wanted. But here's what he didn't understand. You can take someone's memories, you can rewrite their history, you can even change their name. But you can't take away their ability to choose, to fight, to survive. I may never fully remember being Sarah Chen, I may never be the woman Rachel married, but I can choose to be someone new, someone built from the ashes of both Emma and Sarah, someone real. And that's enough. That has to be enough. Thank you for going on this journey with me, for listening to my story, for sticking with me through all 4 parts. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about identity, memory, survival, leave a comment below. Tell me, if you lost all your memories, all your past, would you want to get them back? Or would you choose to build something new? Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I'll be sharing more about my recovery journey, about what it's like to rebuild a life from nothing, about the other survivors and their stories, if they choose to share them. And if you or someone you know is in a situation where they don't feel safe, where something feels wrong, even if you can't quite name it, trust that instinct. Trust that inner voice. It might save your life. I'm Sarah, or Emma Rodriguez, or maybe I'm all of them, and maybe I'm none of them. But whoever I am, I'm a survivor, and so are you. Thank you for watching. Stay safe out there.